So we're joined here by Richard Baker. It's been a while, Richard, since you were on the show.
It has been a while, Hugh. It has been.
Here we are. And,
yes. Thank you again.
You're welcome. It's great to have you back on the show. And now you've been doing some new stuff since the last time you were here.
Well, we rebranded to be known now as GR Marketing Strategist.
Okay, GR Marketing Strategists. And so let's talk about... actually, I'm interested in your process of feeling the need to rebrand and then actually launching a rebrand.
Well, we were formerly known as Baker Branding, and we were just finding that many people were associating us with graphic artists and being a graphics artist and just creating a name and a logo. And we're more in the forefront of actually helping organizations create their brand identity.
So that's a good segue into the whole concept of branding, because if your brand is through your market research, you're determining that the way you're perceived as a brand is different than what you're trying to put out there.
Correct.
Or what you're trying to do, then that's what branding is all about, right?
That is what branding is all about, absolutely, exactly. And so we actually just related back to what we really are. We are marketing strategists, but G in the R stands for generating results, so we generate results for our clients.
Okay, so who would be a client?
We are particularly targeting the small to medium-sized business that are engaged within the food and beverage and the consumer household sector. That is my background. That is where I have the greatest passion for. So that's the type of organizations we help.
So small business.
Small to medium-sized business, absolutely.
In the what? Food and beverage?
Food and beverage sector, and natural health and consumer household.
Now, when you mention those market segments or whatever, I tend to think that I'm just. Are there a lot of small and medium sized? Because I know there's a lot of large companies in those sectors, but
well, there is. I think it's that they are hidden. They are hidden against the backdrop of
the big guys.
Of the big guys, the Coca-Colas of the world. But there's a lot of successful small entrepreneurs, small businesses that are looking to make headway into this industry. Very much so.
So maybe if you could just talk a little bit about branding and the importance of a small business to brand themselves, because you would think there's no point, because Coca-Cola's, everybody out there, they're so strong. How can I possibly compete with them?
Either that, or they're just so busy making the buns, or whatever it is.
Yes, because they are a small business.
About what the brand means, right?
They don't really think about it. In particular, what is the unique selling proposition? And how do they want to position themselves in the marketplace? And what are the emotional attributes that they want people to associate with their brand?
So, do you work with a lot of local people then? Does small business mean local?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I've had a couple of great telephone conversations with some potential clients in the United States who are looking to expand in the Canadian marketplace.
Okay.
They recognize the need that if they want, that like any foreign business as well, that if you want to broaden your market exposure, you have to start to enter into new markets and just can't rely on the current market wherever they are.
Right.
And they have to think differently because they need to understand that market. And I think a lot of times, there have been examples from American firms coming to Canada, but also vice versa, where just by not understanding the market, the companies have made some serious...
Well, absolutely. We try to portray, let us, first off, give you a marketing perspective of how successful do you feel you'll be in this marketplace, recognizing the fact is that the competition you're facing currently in the city or the state where you are in the United States or across the world is going to be totally different than the competition you're going to face here in Canada.
So do you focus mostly with the Canadian sector, though, or do you deal with clients in the States as well?
I can work with clients from the United States. I can work with clients across the world. But primarily right now, our target is really trying to help local entrepreneurs, let's say within Ontario or across Canada.
Okay.
So let's talk about So actually, you mentioned the USP, the unique selling proposition.
Yes.
which is important for any company to have and a big part of their whole brand strategy.
Very much so.
So let's talk about, if we can, the USP for GR marketing strategists.
Well, first and foremost, actually, we are the first Canadian internally operated small marketing service that is dedicated to the food and beverage sector. And so so primarily what differentiates as well is the fact is that as part of our marketing plan, we will also help you put together a sales plan and help connect you with agents and distributors that will represent your products across the marketplace in Canada.
Okay, so that really gives you an edge.
Very much so.
Especially because of your expertise in that area, your experience in that sector, you know the people
I know
to
the
talk
players.
to.
I've got the contacts within that industry, and so if you're really looking to make hay into, let's say, the grocery channels, you want to start working with the Loblaws, with the Walmarts, the Sobeys of the world.
Okay.
That you're more than primary. You're like a Canadian broker that will represent you in the Canadian marketplace, and we will help you align your brand with one of those brokers.
Because it is really tough to get into those stores, isn't it? Like if you want to get to be in an aisle, and let's say you're coming up with a cereal or chips. Let's say potato chips.
Yes.
I mean, to get your chips beside Hostess or Lay's or...
Well, yeah.
Can you do that?
Right, again, exactly. But you hit it right on the head that it is difficult. But again, it's what is your unique selling point? Because shelf space in the Loblaws these days or the Walmarts are so limited, and so that if you want that shelf space, who do you intend to replace on that shelf?
That's a good point.
And if you don't have your unique selling point, then how do you anticipate being able to, to knock out, for example, you're not going to knock out a private label brand. You're not going to knock out Hostess Frito-Lay. They're just, with Pepsi, they're conglomerates. They do their job very, very well. And Procter and Gamble as well. That's So if you want to target the smaller people that are in there right now, what is your unique selling point, and why should the Loblaws or the Walmart list you over that current brand?
Okay, Richard, and I've heard that people actually pay.
They have to pay, yes, they have to, and depending upon the sector, yes, you're going to be, if you want to go national, if you're talking, for example, potato chips, you probably could be talking $500,000 to $750,000
to get shelf space. You're paying for shelf space.
Correct.
So the grocery chain is actually making money on the shelf space as well as selling.
That's right.
To the consumers.
And what also many firms in the United States also don't realize is also that if you then don't have a marketing plan in place to bring exposure of your brand to the consumer, that these retail channels will also charge you to delist your product.
What does that mean?
Well,
delist your project?
If they, for example, after 6 or 9 months or a year, they just don't feel that
it's
your
selling?
space is generating sales, they'll now charge you to take your product off the shelf.
Wow.
Like that's got to be, and it's getting more, that whole aspect of the industry's got to be getting more difficult all the time. More and more products, more and more companies, and more products from each company, and they're all vying for shelf space.
The same
They're all vying
space,
for
yeah.
shelf space, and recognizing also the fact is that also the market as well is getting smaller and smaller with the fact that Sobeys wants to purchase Canada Safeway. So now, if you really want to do business, and you want to do business with the big boys, you're now talking Loblaws, Walmart, Sobeys are now the big three.
Whatever happened to Dominion?
Metro.
Are they gone?
Metro.
Well, Metro's still around, but the Metro's more prominence is more, in the, Metro is more prominent is in Quebec. So, but
okay.
the big three again are Sobeys.
Which we never even heard of.
No, correct. That's
until
right.
a few years ago, right?
I'm from Atlantic, Canada.
Okay.
Correct.
So this really emphasizes the need to have a marketing strategy then, because the competition is so intense.
Yeah. So you mentioned, so is that consolidation of the retail environment in the food sector in Canada? Like, did there used to be more players?
Oh, well, actually, Canada Safeway was by themselves. Dominion was all by themselves, which was with AMP.
Oh, my God, AMP.
The Dominion AMP got bought out by Sobeys. Canada Safeway is now gone. You also had Loeb banners and Provigo. Loeb here in Ontario, Provigo in Quebec. Mm-hmm. They got bought out by Loblaws. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the market is just getting smaller and smaller all the time.
And I mean, who would have thunk? And thunk is a word, Anne Marie.
Yeah,
but who would
but
have
you're
thunk?
using it wrong.
There's no comma with S. But who would have thunk that Walmart would become a grocery store, and that Loblaws would have fashion, like the Joe collection or whatever?
Well, and now you have to also consider, Target. Target is now coming into the Canadian marketplace.
Yes, I haven't seen them yet.
So, how well is Target going to be able to compete with the Walmarts and with the Loblaws now in Canada?
And these are Target's American too, and Walmart's American. Loblaws
Correct.
is Canadian.
That's right.
Okay, so is this eventually going to be taken over by all American companies? Like, will Loblaws fall by the wayside as well, do you think?
No, Loblaws is still the number one grocery channel in Canada.
Okay.
So
okay.
they are they with the Galen Weston family owning Loblaws. They've got a great strong brand across the marketplace. No, I don't see that at all.
And they own No Frills, right?
They own No Frills. They own Zare and Fortino's.
And who owns Food Basics?
Food Basics, that is now actually part of the Sobeys family.
Okay. Did you know that?
No, I'm learning a lot of stuff here, and I don't know if this is the way you wanted the conversation
sorry,
to go.
'cause I
But
think
this
I'm
is
sorry.
No, not at all.
I've heard a lot of people complaining about all the consolidation and that consumers are seeing higher prices as a result.
Well, let's hope that the prices will start to come down a bit again. I hope so.
Yeah.
But you know what? Back to what you are here for, and I do
Yes.
apologize because we have
No,
gone
not at
off.
all,
But
no.
I do think it's really relevant because it does emphasize the need. Because talking about this, if I had a food and beverage product, I would be really overwhelmed and really discouraged. Honestly, I would be very discouraged and thinking, how can I possibly compete? And certainly you can't compete on your own. You can't, some little Joe Blow go into, Loblaws headquarters and say, hey, I have a great product. I have a bag of chips that I want to sell.
That's how Miss Vicky started.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. That's right. They bought out by Hostess Frito-Lay.
But she made a lot of money.
Yeah,
probably
and
selling it out.
the same with the refrigerated salad dressing with
Renee's.
Renee's.
Right?
Actually, Renee,
Yeah.
they did a fantastic job of differentiating themselves, away from the craft of the shelf-stable salad dressings.
Now, was that a Canadian product originally?
That is
Renee's?
that is a Canadian family.
Because I used to buy that Renee's all the time.
Until they
Big boys bought them, right?
They got bought out by Heinz.
So, Richard, so did they have a marketing strategy? The
Well,
Renee's?
they did. They actually they went both for they had their branded format.
Okay.
But they also had the private label format. And they believed that, there was going to be a need for a refrigerated salad dressing. And they were very successful with it.
So this is what you do. You actually help to differentiate that product. You
Very much
actually help
so. And
to
then
drill
and
down.
then help put together a marketing plan that research shows that many small businesses don't see the need for a marketing plan. They think it's only required for the big boys. And I look at it as a marketing plan is like taking a walk in the woods. You need direction. And a marketing plan gives you the direction to be proactive, to stay relevant in the marketplace, and to keep yourself one step ahead of the competition.
Well, also too, if you're a small business but you want to compete with the big boys, you got to play like the big boys, right?
Not necessarily, because social media has really leveled the playing field, and that many people are now
Okay.
actually taking their traditional advertising dollars away and putting it into the social media side of the equation. So
Wow.
that has leveled the playing field. But I see twofold. First and foremost is that smaller businesses can react to market changes faster than a big boy.
So there's an advantage.
And secondly, I also feel that smaller businesses are more innovative than the big boys. So the fact is that there are two advantages that they do have in the marketplace to succeed against whoever their competitors are.
So how big a part does social media play in your strategy?
For most of my part, for our clients now, social media is a very key component. Absolutely, that depending upon exactly who your target audience is and exactly where they are on the social media site, that it's now a necessity that you have to have a presence on social media.
You know, that is one thing I find that big guys are it's not that welcoming. I am much more welcoming when I see smaller guys on social media than when I see like a Loblaws try to invite me to something, or I like the smaller guys because it feels more personal.
Well, and that's another key advantage, in particular when it comes to the retail sector. What you're seeing in the retail sector is the big box stores are getting smaller and smaller because they want that personal attention.
Okay.
And that's exactly what the smaller retailers can offer. And it shows that they're either going to that or they're going to online now to make their purchase.
Wow. Okay,
so you can be just as successful operating a food business by just operating online than to going in onto and having a presence on the shelf.
Okay, so did you have a question to you?
No.
Okay, so do you also work with restaurants too, Richard, like local restaurants and things like that, or restaurant chains?
We can, if necessity, very much so.
Okay.
Again,
okay.
Again, there's probably, there's lots of great restaurants out in Toronto and Mississauga where I live, and when I go by them daily, I always question, wonder what their unique selling point is. Mm-hmm. How is it there, what makes them different compared to, just touring downtown Toronto and seeing all the great restaurants around Bathurst Street and College.
Yeah.
I always look and say, boy, do you look great, but what differentiates you from who your competitor is? And you got competitors just down the street or right next door to you.
Wow.
So that's an interesting point, because I remember, because I took business at university, Richard, and that USP was one of the, that was an answer. I don't know if it was a multiple choice, but it was, that was a concept that we learned at business school, right?
Yes.
And, unique selling point, right?
Yeah, the unique selling proposition. And
okay.
I think when you get out of school and you kind of just get busy doing your stuff, you forget about how important that is, and
you forget about that, but you also forget about that. Who is your target audience? Don't try to be one to all. You can't be. Coca-Cola and Pepsi aren't, because they both have their different strategies. They're going after different segments of the marketplace, the consumer marketplace, and you have to be the same. You cannot expect, that every consumer is going to want your product and always going to wish to purchase your product.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, because we talked about two great examples, right? The Miss Vicky's.
Yes.
And Renee's.
Very much so.
Both Canadian success stories, right?
Absolutely. They were.
I don't know what it is, but I don't even know if they have Miss Vicky's in the U.S.
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure.
But I'm sure they've got a huge market share in this country because everybody loves Miss Vicky's.
You know what? I don't buy them anymore. I used to, and maybe I didn't know they were bought out, but I don't buy them because the prices shot way up, and I thought, wow, they probably did when they got bought out.
Well, maybe.
Potato chips, wow. And plus there's a lot of really good ones out there now that are just like them.
They all copied Miss Vicky's.
Yeah, I think so. I think they did, and they're just as good.
But the thing is, I'm just thinking, how many people, probably everybody, I know I have, either they got a good recipe or they got a certain kind of food product that they make at home, and they probably at one point or another thought to themselves, gee, I wonder if I could take this and make it a commercial product, a success story like Miss Vicky's or like Renee's or something like that. And it just occurs to me now that for somebody that's actually serious about doing that coming and talking to you about that might be a great first step, because they may not have any clue about the marketplace.
Well, and there's another great, is Give and Go Prepared Foods. They're another small little.
What are they called?
Give and Go Prepared Foods. They do those
Oh.
great bite-sized brownies.
Oh.
Those little tasty ones where you
Yeah,
you
like
know,
2 bites or something. Those 2-bite
That's right,
brownies and
yes,
things.
exactly. And the fact is, you think
Everybody
one or
loves
two, the
those.
next, you're eating the full bag within an hour because they're so good, they're so tasty.
And then your day's ruined.
Exactly, literally.
I know mine is.
But, again, no one has really been able to replicate their success in the bakery industry, for those two-bite brownies.
Wow, amazing. So is it also a good idea to come to you, even to Hugh's point, if I have an idea, even before I go ahead and launch it as a business, would it be a good idea to come to you and say, okay, wait a second, this is what I have. I'm not even sure if it's worth my time, effort.
Absolutely, because that's more about a pre-market perspective and recognizing that what is the size of your category, what are the trends within the category, but again, who is your competitor, and how do you again going to differentiate yourselves from the competitor and within 3 to 5 years, how successful do we feel that you will be in the marketplace? And if you are a food product or a consumer household product, where is it that you would like to be listed? Do you want to just stay with the independent mums and pops grocery stores, or do you want to have a greater presence into the retail sector? And from there, do you also want to grow into the food service sector?
Wow, that's a lot to think about when you're just like coming up with a potato chip.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. You might come up with a great product, but if you don't really have any idea how to approach the marketplace, then you're going to be in big trouble. Now, Richard, I understand you have a multi-step process when you're working
Correct.
with clients.
Yes.
Can we talk
Yes.
about that a little bit?
Certainly. Well, again, the first one is a market perspective, as we talked about, and let's just give you an overview of the market, give you a size of what the category
Right.
is, and really who's your competition based upon who's your target audience, and how do we feel that you are going to stand out against these people, and how successful do we feel you'll be within 3 to 5 years?
So that's the overview.
That's the overview. Then we
Okay.
will go into a brand audit and more give you a branding perspective, what is your unique selling proposition? What is your promise? What is your personality? And how do you want to position yourselves in the marketplace?
Okay. And then based on that, you actually
Based
come
upon
up
that,
with...
the marketing plan then takes over from the brand. So where the brand audit is left, the marketing plan takes over from there, and then we take that information and then we put together a marketing plan that encompasses both a push and pull strategy. And what we mean by a push and pull strategy is that the push strategy is actually getting your product listed with a retailer.
Okay.
And then the pull strategy then gain your consumers actually now take that product off the shelf.
Okay,
and
so
bring it
pull
home
from the
with them.
consumer.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And then finally the part 4, which is actually an inaugural part of the marketing plan, is actually the distribution plan, and putting together a sales presentation that we will present to brokers and distributors across the country.
Wow.
And that help you then, and then working with them to put together the presentation for the account base that you wish to target.
So you do the full cycle.
We do for the full cycle, and then where necessary, that for sure that we have a alliance of strategic businesses that we work with that will execute more about the social media, the social media component.
Wow.
So let's talk about the social media component, Richard,
Yes.
because it's really a new phenomenon.
Yes.
I mean, for guys like us, it's
Yes.
relatively new. I remember the time before social media. And of course, it's also a moving target. It's a constantly evolving
Constantly
environment.
evolving, and it's always. And again, the email is best. Email marketing is the best way to get your message known. Social media is the best way to get to share your message, and yet only 10% of small businesses
Wow.
use email marketing.
Wow. So if I came to you
Yes.
and we talked about the branding and all of that stuff, how long would it be from our very first discussion,
Yes.
to having the presentation for the distributors? Like that must be, I would think that'd be 6 months.
No, 3 to 4 months, but
Okay.
to actually then get a listing with a retailer, you're talking another 6 months because
Okay.
their schedules are so busy. Everyone wants in.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of time to actually, and then you then have to, and then even if you then get the listing with the head office in Loblaws, your brokers and yourself have to go bound to each individual store and talk to the manager to get them to get them to bring it in to put it on the shelf.
So honestly, in your experience,
Yes.
what are the chances of getting on the shelf? Like nowadays, what are the chances of a Miss Vicky's getting on the shelf or Renee's?
I think very good still.
Wow, that's amazing.
As long as I think you still get you that unique difference that would stand you out against who the competition
So there's
is.
still some space.
Well, especially the fact is that there's so much, the natural health product sector is such an emerging sector.
You just read my mind again. There's
You
three
know,
times now,
there's
Richard, you've read my mind during this.
Natural health products, organic is starting to see a great rise, and even those that have lactose intolerant, have an allergy to a wheat allergy. That also is such an emerging market.
You know what I found is really, really heavy? The wheat market, because the gluten-free thing is big now, right?
That is very big. Gluten-free is very big right now, and even, for example, I just working in the shampoo industry, like all natural shampoos. In terms of understanding, having worked with a small client in that sector, that knowing what chemicals were in current regular shampoos, to how beneficial it is to actually purchase all natural shampoos.
Wow. The other market I find too is the milk section. There's so much, it used to be just like cow's milk, right? Then I guess went to goat milk, and now you have like soy milk and almond milk and rice milk and oatmeal milk.
That's right.
And flax and hemp seed milk. Oh my God! I mean, it's just phenomenal. And actually, I find that it's sometimes too much.
That's not going to improve.
Well, a lot of it, I think, again, though, it's like how well have a lot of those firms actually done to actually bring their message out to the marketplace.
Well, see, that's the thing. I remember when soy milk first started,
Yes.
because that's a big staple of mine when I went vegan. And so first, there was one kind of soy milk, and now there's a ton. And now, I guess and actually, this would be a good question. Is it, when a product comes out on the market and then becomes, I guess, penetrates so that everybody wants it? Because now I see that, Loblaws has their own PC soy
Yes.
milk, and Dominions or whatever, Sobeys, they'll have their own, version of soy milk. So does that mean that it's actually there to stay now? When you see something like that?
Potentially, yes, very much so. And but again, that's a strategy that some small businesses can utilize, which is if you want to capitalize on these emerging trends, be the manufacturer for the private label format of the Loblaws, of the Sobeys, of the Walmart. You can
Wow.
you can make a great business by being that hidden brand behind the private label brand of the Loblaws. Because the Loblaws doesn't manufacture, they actually have a third party that does it for you, and so you avoid all the listing fees.
Oh, isn't that smart?
You avoid all the listing fees if you are able, very successfully be able to, but you have to be able to, work with reduced margins, because they want to see, that they expect to make a lot more money on their private label format than on a comparable branded format.
But yet you're just doing one transaction.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely. You're
big
not.
volume.
Yes, right, absolutely. You don't have all the inside programs that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
It's net right out.
So your overhead would be less anyway, so you could have less margins.
Very much so. Absolutely.
Right? Wow. So that's a whole nother area I hadn't even thought of.
See?
Wow. That's
Private label is a very attractive option for those businesses who feel that maybe right now they don't have the capital to compete in the branded format, so they will go to the private label side of the equation.
See, so that's just another thing that maybe people haven't thought about, that they will benefit from Richard's expertise. Now, Richard,
Wow.
I just want to ask you briefly, because you're targeting this sector. That's your,
Yes.
these are the people you're going after.
Yes.
And you've got experience in that sector. What's your background in that sector, just to give people a
Well,
sense of your...
primarily my biggest one was working with, I had great 10 years of success with Carlton Cards, the leading social express industry leader, but then
okay.
I also had a couple of years fun working with being the hot sauce king with Tabasco brand pepper sauce, and then working also with Rich Products, the frozen food manufacturer out of Buffalo, New York.
Oh, yeah.
wow. Carlton Cards. Wow, I used to work in one of those stores as like one of my first jobs.
Now, Richard, do you also, if I'm looking at your website here, do you get into the actual distribution side of things as well?
We will align you with agents and distributors. I'm not a distributor myself. No.
Okay.
I'm not a distributor myself, but we will, work with you to help you, get your product, working with distributors and/or brokers.
And you help to create the presentation.
We will
too.
help you also put together a presentation, and also there is a difference between a broker and a distributor, and what is best for your brand.
Right.
We'll help you determine what is the best option for your brand.
Okay, so we've already talked about, maybe somebody who's got an idea to get into this business like Miss Vicky did or like Renee did, but can you give us a pretty good description about some of the other potential clients that you work well with?
Well, I'm actually working right now with Vic Johnson Community Center. They're the local hockey arena in Streetsville, in Mississauga, and I'm working to help try to put together a marketing plan that will generate more business for their confectionery food stand in the actual arena.
Wow, well, how would you even go about doing that? I guess.
Well, that's actually we did a survey on SurveyMonkey. And what resonated twofold with us through that was that, first and foremost, that the actual confectionery stand is named after the wife of a long-time resident that had a big involvement with the Vic Johnson Community Center.
Okay.
And many people don't understand how the name came from. And many people also do not realize that Vic Johnson Community Center is independently operated from the city of Mississauga, and they receive no financial support from the government. So every dollar that you give,
yeah,
regardless be a cup of coffee, a bag of potato chips, all goes back into the programs, which is to help Streetsville Minor Hockey.
So is that what differentiates it then? It's that whole local, true blue local community?
Well, part of the foremost is the convenience of it, absolutely. But and secondly is that what we want to do is build the bigger brand for Marion's Kitchen, so people have a better understanding as to who Marion's Kitchen is and as to why it is so important that, instead of buying your cup of coffee at Tim Hortons on the way to your son's or daughter's hockey game,
buy here instead.
take it 30 seconds, take 2 minutes out and buy it actually within the from the actual arena. Recognize that all that money stays within the arena.
Plus, it's more convenient. Actually, you don't have to drive to Tim Hortons and wait in line and all that stuff.
And no spillage on the way.
Yeah.
And you don't ruin your clothes.
And the other thing too is when you are going to an arena, you usually have a whole bunch of bags and equipment and stuff like that. And to carry a cup of that, there goes one hand, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that because you can drop all your bags off and then just go
But
in the
also,
arena and get it.
we're just trying to do a little work with Velvet Sunrise, which is a local coffee beaner.
Oh.
So they actually they have their coffee beans give the greater taste and freshness that who their competitors are.
So there's always something, and of course the natural health sector is huge and growing, and I would
natural
think that
product
there's
health sector is growing, and it's growing by leaps and bounds, and there's such a need for it, and actually a study I found actually on the internet from 2010 showed, I think, that there's 85 to 90% of all consumers want to buy natural health products, but yet only 22% buy because there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
From the wanting to
Isn't that
buy
interesting?
to actually buying it, from understand the benefits, where is it located, what all those different elements all play a role in why people are not purchasing more natural health products.
And to your point, one of the reasons I think why they might not be is because those natural health products don't have a great marketing campaign, so they're not out there competing with the big guys too, because you have to go to very special stores and that you have to search it out.
You do, and you do, and there's still a role that they can play now with the national banners.
Wow.
I would think that that is what you've just mentioned, Sandra, is a big opportunity for you, Richard, because a lot of these companies
Exactly.
really haven't taken the steps that they probably should, that you provide for
Yes.
them to do.
And we'd be more than happy to help them. And because again, that's I come from the small business sector. I've always had the pleasure of working with within small business sectors, so that's why I continue to work with the small business owners today.
And let's face it, that's very different than the big guys, because it's a very different kind of feel in a smaller office or a smaller company than.
It is a different type of field. It's like, you know, you can be more proactive to the
Yeah.
market changes than let's say a bigger conglomerate in that sector can be. And again, I do believe that small businesses, you know, have a more creative mindset
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
that of the bigger companies as well.
Okay, so Richard, if people want to get in touch with you and take that next step to
Yes, you can
For their
reach us
success?
at www.grmarketingstrategist.com, or my cell phone number is 416-768-7648.
okay, so GR Marketing Strategists,
Yes, .com.
plural.com,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
No apostrophe, right?
No apostrophe.
Okay, Richard, thanks for coming back.
Well, thank
Good
you
to have
again
you on
for
the
your
show.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And good luck on the new, I guess, the rebirth, right?
Thank you.
Rebranding.
Rebranding.
Okay, so all right, so we're going to take another little break now. Actually, I got a little video here on Bitcoin.
What's that?
You don't know what Bitcoin is? Well, you're going to find out right now.
Okay.
And we're going to come back with Trila Smith as Liquid Lunch continues.
It's late now, winter's on its way now. There'll soon be a crowd out calling our names. Yeah, we'll hide here till we wake with the sun, dear. When the searchers appear, we'll bury ourselves